Hello. For proportions, so when we have a hypothesis test for a single population proportion, it always uses a z-test. If you're giving a percent when you're using the calculator, you need to find how many that is. So if it says 70% of the population or the sample, you need to find out how many that is. And just multiply by your sample size. P is the decimal of your percent, and Q is 1 minus P, and we've used that before for the confidence intervals. But the main thing when you're testing a claim, if it's testing greater than, unlike the mean where null hypothesis is always equal to, well, it could be less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or equal to. So if you're testing greater than, the null hypothesis is everything else less than or equal to. Alternative is greater than. If you're testing less than, alternative is less than, null hypothesis is everything else greater than or equal to. And if you're testing not equal to, then the null hypothesis is the only thing that's not included, the equal to the value. And when they're talking about critical regions and critical value, this video is a good video to watch. I thought it explained everything, and I think we had it earlier in another section, but it is a good one to watch. And then, like I'm doing now, we'll go here. But example 1, test the claim that the proportion of people who own cats is smaller than 80% at 0.1 significant level. So we're checking smaller than 80%. Well, that means our null hypothesis is going to be everything greater than or equal to 80%, and the alternate is less than, the smaller than part. Because we're testing less than, that's a left tail, because you could think of the way it's pointing left, so it's left tail. And this video above will help you with that also and show you the curve. But based on 100 people, 75% own cats. We need to find the test value and the p-value. And we can do that using the calculator. So if we go over to the calculator, to find it, again, we use stats, and we go over to tests. But instead of our t-test and our z-test, notice number 5 says 1 proportion z-test. That's the one we want. So you want to go down to number 5. And then our hypothesis was 80%, so 0.8. And then our mean was 75%. Well, 75% of 100, or 100 times, I think we could just put it in here, 0.75, is 75 out of the 100. So 0.8, 75 out of 100, because it was 75 and there was 100 in the sample. And then our alternative hypothesis was less than, so we want this one. And then we calculate. And we needed our test statistic, negative 1.25, and our p-value, 0.10564, so on. And if we look back at our answers, negative 1.25 and 0.1056. Now, we want to look at this value and our significant level, because our p-value is greater than the significant level. We fail to reject the null hypothesis. Let's try one more. Number 2. Test the claim that the proportion of people who own cats is significantly different than 90% at a 0.1 significant level. The null hypothesis is, since we're seeing significantly different, that means they're not equal. So our null hypothesis is equal to the 90%, and alternative is not equal to. And you do write these in decimal form. Because this is not equal to, it is a two-tailed test, because we're talking about both ends of the normal curve. Now this one's based on a sample of 300 people, 93% own cats. And we have to find the same thing as the one above. So if we have 300 people, let's clear this. We have 300 times the 93%. We had 279. So 279 out of the 300 people. So our hypothesis is 0.9. And we're testing not equal to. Let's plug it in our calculator. We go to stat, over to tests. The proportion one is the number 5. We have 5, and it'll come up. Our null and alternative is 0.9. And we said there was 279 people out of 300. And we're testing not equal to. And calculate that. Once we calculate that, we have our z value and our p value. If we look back at our answers, the z value and the p value. And you check your p value with your significance level. And since this is greater, we do not reject the null hypothesis. But that's about it for this section in Chapter 9.